setting Washington's agenda. The Morning Majority, 5 to 9 on 630 WMAL.
7:37 on WMAL, and I'm here with Brian Newman and Brian Wilson, and we actually do have Jake Tapper on the phone now.
Now it's time.
I got so excited that he was coming. I hate to do Weinergate right out of the gate with you, Jake, but I gotta ask. The president did weigh in on it, said if I were him, I would resign. A little bit strange phraseology, but I'm wondering what you think about the White House communications team. It seemed odd to me that they didn't weigh in at the beginning of this, were very studious about not weighing in on it, and then finally at this point when things have seemed to sort of die down a little bit in the press cycle, he jumps in, and to me that gives some fire to it. Am I wrong about this?
Well, I think early on they saw no upside in the president being associated with the story at all. And then they have this long-standing commitment to Ann Curry because of her, taking over the reins of the Today Show, and she interviewed him. I don't think he would have issued that as a statement, but she asked him about it, and obviously they had been prepared for it, and he gave the gentlest nudge that he could, which is, if it were me, I would step down because it's a distraction, and you're not, you're there to be a service to the public, and when you're such a distraction that you can't do that anymore, then you can't do your job.
Is that the final straw for him?
For Weiner?
Yeah. I mean, I've been amazed how resilient he's been.
I don't know if it's the final straw. I mean, you would think that the entire Democratic leadership coming out and saying resign, especially Nancy Pelosi, who has never done that for a Democrat ever since taking office in 1987. She has never called for a Democrat to step down. You'd think that would be enough, but my understanding from people close to him is he's in this treatment wherever he is, and he's waiting for Huma to get back, and then he'll decide what's next.
But you would think that if they really wanted him to go, though, the Democratic Party, if the president of the United States actually called him up and said, you should resign, would the president ever do that in this particular case? But
what's the upside of the president? Then the reporters are all like, President Obama calls Weiner. Yeah, President Obama has direct conversation.
And if Weiner rejects the call, then the president looks weak and impotent, sort of like Nancy Pelosi does right now.
And you can't direct message him, so...
The other thing that's in, the next step, it seems to me, is the next thing that happens is Democrats start telling Weiner, we're not going to support your reelection. You might get redistricted out of a seat. You're going to get kicked off your committees. You're going to be a pariah if you come to Capitol Hill. No one's going to talk to you. I mean, that's what's next. I mean, they are trying to, they spent all last week. Weiner was on the phone with Pelosi and with Steve Israel, the Democratic congressman from New York and the head of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, and they were telling him privately, resign. We can't have a third week of this. Resign, resign, resign. And then finally Saturday morning, when Weiner spoke to Pelosi and told her that he was checking into treatment and requesting a leave of absence, which is not what they wanted, she said, we're going to have to go public.
Jake, the president yesterday sort of cracked a little joke that to many people wasn't very funny, having to do with the $787 billion in stimulus funds. And he cracked a joke, well, I guess those shovel-ready projects weren't as shovel-ready as we first thought. That sort of landed with a thud, like a lead balloon. Were you surprised to see him sort of interject that thought?
He's made that comment before. He made the comment last October in an interview with the New York Times Magazine, with Peter Baker of the New York Times Magazine. He didn't make it as a joke. He made it as an analysis that, a lot of the shovel-ready projects weren't actually as, immediately ready to go as we thought. The idea that he was laughing, I think, immediately was seized upon by Republicans as an example of him being out of touch. And this is an issue that the White House has to worry about, because in the past, President Obama has scored well with voters on this very crucial question of understands the problems of people like you. In the last ABC News Washington Post poll last week, it was 49% agree, 49% disagree. That's a bad number. That's a bad number for the president. Now, I talked to White House officials about it, and they said that their private polling does not have him scoring so poorly on understands the problems of people like you, empathy. But when you have Mitt Romney making a big issue out of the speed bumps comment that President Obama made, he was referring to some bumps in the road in terms of the recovery. It wasn't calling American speed bumps, but when you have somebody, when you make it easy for Republicans to portray you as seeming to not care, seeming to be out of touch, etc., then you have a potential problem. And I think this feeds into that.
Did you watch the debate last night?
I did.
Anything stick out to you of important? We were saying that it looks like the Republicans were playing team ball last night, going after the president, not really going after each other.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had something more original to say. I've read all the comments and watched a lot of the coverage last night, but what I think basically squares with everybody else, which is, Romney, I think, emerged unscathed because nobody really went after him, as you would expect the people to go after a frontrunner. I suppose they're all trying to think of themselves as introducing themselves to the American people, and they don't want to be negative. I know a lot of conservatives were disappointed that Pawlenty didn't repeat his attack on Romney's health care plan on stage the way he did on Fox News Sunday, the Sunday before. And I agree that Michelle Bachmann acquitted herself very well and could emerge in Iowa especially, and then who knows where else afterwards, as a force, especially if Pawlenty does not up his game. Because I see the opening for Pawlenty as being the conservative alternative to Romney,
right?
Conservative in terms of social conservatives, and also fiscal conservatives, because a lot of fiscal conservatives don't trust Romney because of health care in Massachusetts. But if he's not stronger, he runs the risk of ceding that territory and people doing some shopping around.
All right, Jake. Great to talk to you as always. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you next week.
ABC senior White House correspondent Jake Tapper here with the Morning Majority. We'll check traffic and weather together in 1 minute. Also, Patrice Court at the news desk of the Wall Street Journal. And what did the governor of Ohio do that I'm irritated with? But
no, I love
Brian
this.
Wilson, Mary Catherine think it's great. So we'll get into that coming up. 7:44 on WM.